Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to the one, the only Hog Talk podcast, live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe in Buzz Radio networks, where you can hear us on all podcast platforms, as well as Buzz 2 106.7 in Central Arkansas. So please like and rate and review our podcast. All shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I am Porter Hayes, and we're also brought to you by Bet Online. Get the latest odds, lines, matchups, reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. Head on over to the website to use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use the promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. And we head on over to the Metters Hotline and bring in members and coaches of the Arkansas Rugby Club, the oldest club sport in Arkansas. Guys, I really appreciate y'all for hopping on right before season, and we'll just go around and, how to introduce yourself to the fans, what, where you reside or come from, and what got you into the sport of rugby.
Well, my bad, Coach. You got it.
All right, that's fine. I'm Coach Warren Fife. Right now, head coach of the Arkansas Rugby Club. I've been involved in the program since 2007, and seen some ups and downs, but we're looking good. We're on a good growth curve right now, and pretty excited about the next season.
I guess I'll go next, so we'll get the coaches out of the way. I'm Lance Cummings. I'm an assistant coach. I've been helping out with the university really since last year for the first year. So I help coach our forwards group, which I assume at some point we'll explain what the difference is between a back and a forward. So I coach the forwards group and focus really on sevens rugby, which is a different format of rugby in the spring that our club encompasses as well. I'm from Little Rock originally. I'm a University of Arkansas alumni. I actually played under Coach Fife back when I was in college. He gave a lot to me, and I learned a lot. Recently hung up the boots from playing men's club rugby for the Arkansas Griffins in Northwest Arkansas, which is a social club that plays competitively at a pretty high level. It is open for any male above the age of 18 to play rugby if they're interested. But that's my story, and I bleed Razorback red, and I'm an Arkansan.
Go ahead, Peanut.
I'm Peanut Mullen. I'm from Kansas City, and I started playing in elementary school and just been playing since.
All right, and then I'm Lewis. I didn't play rugby till sophomore year of college. I'm also from Kansas City, same as Peanut, and excited for the season.
So, you were talking about this club that it's not recognized by the university, but it's on the same kind of level as the hockey team. So, Coach, how hard is it to really get kids to get interested in the sport, and especially in a state where we don't have high school rugby? You don't have other than the Griffins and you got the team in Little Rock, there's not that much to choose from when it comes to playing. So what's been the biggest challenge of getting the kids, the notoriety and the popularity growing in the state and on the college level?
You're right, and that is a very big challenge. There's almost zero rugby, in Arkansas, other than at the university. Certainly not at a high school level. The Griffins, the men's club in Fayetteville, has started a youth program, and that's helped. Little Rock Men's Rugby Club had a youth program, and that's helped a little. But outside of that, there's very little high school in Arkansas, so that's a challenge there. And then, so as far as recruiting, we do a pretty good job on campus of recruiting interested players. Many of them have no clue what rugby is, so that's another challenge in itself, getting those guys, one, to love the game, and two, to stick around. And then we also do a fairly good job of recruiting out of high school. I think we've established ourselves as a pretty decent program. Kids want to come here. So in the last couple of years since COVID, we've had fairly decent classes of freshmen coming in that have played high school rugby, not so much in Arkansas, but, in Texas, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and so on. So it's been good as far as that. But it is a big challenge. It's a big challenge.
And for the players, you talk about, Peanut, you have played, Lewis, you haven't. So give your different perspectives of coming to a school that offers rugby, and then Lewis, with you not playing, coming and seeing. I don't know if you were recruited, one of those that he was talking about, recruited to come try out. Like, what were your thoughts when, hey, we could play a football style game without pads and really get out there and be physical?
Yeah, so I actually wasn't really recruited that hard in college because we were just still kind of in COVID. So freshman year, they didn't really. Year, my uncle was actually alumni from the university, but he played Arkansas rugby like some 20 years ago. But I really just kind of looked it up because of him, and then got in contact with the president at the time, went to practices, met coaches, and then just really enjoyed the game. Kind of took the time to learn it, understand it, and then just took off from there.
So I started playing in elementary school and kind of fell in love with it, and played against Brooks Tate. His dad coached against me in high school, and he knew I was going to Arkansas and kind of told me about it, and I was pumped because definitely wanted to continue playing the game I love.
And this will be for the coaches. We can ask it. And, Lance, with you coaching and being playing, break down like the game of rugby. I remember, I'm 41, so I remember watching Aussie rules football on Fox Sports. I mean, that was really the closest thing that, I've ever really seen to it. Of course, you see that, the New Zealand and Australia, and, the when you go to the World Cup level. And that was really the only kind of rugby I've seen on TV. But just kind of break down the game, what makes it different from what you would see in football, and when you're talking about the sevens compared to your club style.
Yeah, to me, it's the ultimate sport. It's a beautiful sport. So it's an 80-minute match, 2 40-minute halves, and it's completely open. Whereas in football, there's stoppages at every single play. Rugby is free flowing like soccer, and so if you really think of the progression of the sport of soccer, and then you look at American football, rugby is in the timeline somewhere in the middle there from when soccer basically essentially became American football over time. And most of what we look at that's American football really before the 1920s is most likely rugby still. Rugby was an Olympic sport up until the 1920s, was taken out of the Olympics. The USA actually won the last gold at that point. And then now it's back in the Olympics as of, I believe, 2016 under the sevens format. And so rugby is 2 80-minute halves, 15 players against 15 players. All 15 players run the ball. All 15 players make tackles. There's no offense or defense. And then the sevens format is usually played in a tournament style, and it's a lot more action packed. It's easier for people to watch, which is why it gets so much traction at an Olympic sport level. 15s rugby is 80-minute. You've got to sit there and understand the whole concept of the game. Sevens is once again very quick and action packed. It's 7-on-7, usually a 14-minute match with 2 7-minute halves, and you'll play anywhere between 3 to 6 sevens matches in one day. So it's a very tournament based and really exhausting for the players. You have to be fit to play sevens, but it's a fun version of the game to watch.
And just, you talk about the physicality. Now we're talking about growing a sport. How hard is it to keep players and really get enough? Before we started, you were talking about 30, 40 guys. You're sitting there rotating in and out. So, I mean, just the physicality of it.
It's tough as a club sport, and I think that's where Coach Fife brings a lot of assistance. He coached at a very high level back when he was in South Africa before he came to the country, so he knows what a varsity program looks like, and so he's able to help us really put some good principles in place as a club sport program to say, hey, these are the principles and the things that we need to hold ourselves to outside of just the allotted practice time and resources we get from the university, to treat ourselves like a student athlete and carry ourselves like a student athlete. And that really is centered around how you're taking care of your body when you're working out, the programs that you're doing, your diet. And so we really try to enforce with the guys, hey, you've got to prehab, you've got to rehab in the middle of season, you've got to put body armor on, you're going to have this constant soreness throughout the season that you're just going to associate with the sport of rugby, and you're going to grow to love it because it makes you feel like a Viking, and it brings you closer to just awesomeness than anything I've ever experienced before.
Next question is for the players. Being one of the most physical sports that there is and taxing, how do you balance, your college life with rehabbing and practice when you don't have the luxuries of the facilities of the, the sports at the University of Arkansas? So how do you, rehab? What do you do after matches, in between games and matches, to keep yourself in shape and injury free?
You start, Peanut.
Well, I would say like in between matches, you always got to have something good to eat, keep yourself having energy, keep yourself hydrated. You got to pump a lot of fluids. After games, next two-ish days, you're kind of just laying there, stretching out every chance you get, getting yourself nice and ready for practice on next practice day, just trying to get ready to go back and compete to get better.
And Coach Fife, just for, the head coaching duties and stuff and trying to get this team ready for this upcoming season, we're looking at your schedule and you start, pretty soon with your let's see if we can had it up right quick. I had the schedule. Here we go. There we are. So we got the schedule coming up and you start on the 2nd against OU. So this again is like, the hockey club, and you're not playing, some Eastern Michigan State, or you're playing these directional schools. You're playing OU, Oklahoma State. You're playing basically a Big 12 schedule. So how to get these guys prepared for this season, what goes into this, and then of course playing against some high caliber teams that are on your level.
Yeah, right. That's a big challenge. As we come back into the new season, a lot of it, especially the first part of the season, is reliance on the returning starters coming back from last year. So we have pretty much the basis of a team already that can go into these first games and be competitive. The challenge is, one, kind of integrating the new guys that have played before but have not played on our team before. And then the bigger challenge after that is getting the new guys that have never played before, never even seen a rugby ball before, have never tackled anybody, like a live one-on-one tackle, and get them kind of a little bit up to speed and keep them involved. So it's a challenge. We've actually done some work over the summer, just kind of encouraging conditioning and guys keeping up with their fitness. We're going to test that when they get back. They don't know it yet, but they're going to get tested there. And then we've worked a lot on putting together what we call a game book, just kind of like a blueprint of all our terminology, plays, offense, defensive strategies, and things like that, which I think will be really helpful this season to provide that blueprint that we'll kind of coach off of. But it's tough. It's tough coming back with about 2 weeks. And the first one against OU is a scrimmage, so it's not actually a league game, but that's a warm-up game that we kind of test and try different combinations and blood the new players and give some guys that never played some experience. And it's quite nice playing against a very good program like OU because they have very similar structure to us and very similar players to us. So they have like a very good starting team, and then they'll have new guys that want to play and brand new guys that never played. So we kind of match up. When we play the scrimmage short periods, we match up players' abilities against players' abilities. So that really helps.
And for the players, you're talking about 15 on 15. So it's not like linemen are lined up against linemen. Quarterbacks or cornerbacks and safeties. You're going up against guys probably 20, 30, 50 pounds heavier than you or lighter. So what adjustments do you go through when you're on this field with different styles and players? I mean, how do you adjust to that of, I'm going up against this guy on the line, and then all of a sudden you're trying to basically open field tackle a running back?
I would say it's a lot about trusting the guy next to you and having complete faith that, you can go together and make a tackle on a big guy and you can take the angle on a faster dude, and you have a dude coming over the top that's going to help you out if you need help.
And also what I'll add too is, with the rugby style and 15s, I know it's got to be pretty rewarding that your linemen can score touchdowns. The big guys can get in there and rumble for a touchdown as well, and get the little slides in, when you cross the line. So I know that's got to be a fun part of it, that everybody gets a chance to really get in the action and score.
Yeah, for sure. I played lineman in high school football, so getting the score is always awesome.
So again, the big differences between, your sevens and Aussie rules football and rugby. Where do y'all, for those, I've seen that there's a practice coming up, tryouts, where do y'all practice? Where do you play? Let's, get to the people. If we want to get people out there to watch the games, where do y'all practice, play, and how can more people get involved with the sport?
Lawrence, you want to jump that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So we practice and play at the UREC sports complex. So club sports, you have athletics where, football, basketball, that just falls under the University of Arkansas athletics. Club sports like men's rugby. There's a women's rugby team as well. And I'm also going to give a shameless plug for the Fayetteville Phoenix, which is a women's social team in the local community. We all fall under this thing called UREC, which manages the club sports. There's a sports complex off of Razorback Road. Whenever we have a match, you'll see big rugby posts go on that pitch out there. We call our field in rugby a pitch. So you'll see big rugby posts go out there. And we play typically on Saturdays around 1 or 2 p.m. There is going to be a really cool event. If you look on the schedule for September 8th, we're going to be playing on a Friday night, the night before our football game against Kent State, and that's on family weekend. Rugby match under the lights is a lot of fun to come watch, and so hope to see a lot of people on that Friday night match.
And talk about the crowds. How many on a given? Do y'all have a lot of people who come to the games? I mean, do you have your fan clubs and all that, or is it one of them where we really need to push to get more people out there and involved and really help bring more popularity to the sport and the game?
Yeah, it'll be great to drive more spectators to the field for our home games. We have a fairly solid turnout, but it's not anything like an NCAA sport. So we have the scattering of people down the sidelines and on both touch lines, and there's a decent enough amount of support, but it'll be really great to get more people to come watch and see us play, because these guys put a lot of effort in. They're not on scholarship. They have no reason except for loving the game to play the sport, and it's great when they get support from the community and the university. So that'd be awesome, to get that more people to come watch us.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Coach Pfeiffer, bring up a good point that we haven't really hit on quite yet, and that's pathways to greater levels of rugby. There is pro rugby in America these days, and we actually have quite a few alumni that have made the circuits for pro rugby in America, gotten to play a level of pro rugby overseas, as well as had shots at being an Olympian for USA Rugby that are alumni of the Arkansas rugby program. So we do have current players that have targets to go play at a higher level of rugby after college.
And players, what does that mean? When you're talking about a lot of sports, like there's this stop point of just how far you can go, knowing that, hey, there might be a possibility that I could keep on playing, even if it's with the Griffins in Northwest Arkansas, or making it to the pro level. Is that something that, kind of, especially with you, Peanut, playing since you're at elementary school? I mean, now you have something to keep on striving for and really play, rugby up into your adult life.
I mean, yeah, that's obviously the goal, is to be able to play professional rugby, but just be able to play a game you love for as long as you can, I think is a very important thing. I think the Griffins do a great job with that. Just getting to keep playing a game you love, keep traveling, playing against other people, being competitive. So I think it's a great thing.
And on the level that y'all play, I bring up hockey because there's different levels to the club. How close would you be, I mean, if there been ever any talks of trying to get sanctioned, or have you ever been close to being recognized by the university, or is that something that has kind of been, one of them big hurdles that you've tried to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, that's not so much the university. It's just the NCAA system, and there has been some talk around sevens, but it's usually more focused on the women's game, simply because football, baseball, and basketball, mainly football, takes up so many scholarships that the big schools are not going to give up scholarships for a minor sport like rugby on the men's side. So it's never been something that I think the NCAA has even really considered. So USA Rugby, which is our parent organization, basically handles the leagues and the administration and the divisions and whatnot, and the competitions for rugby in the United States, from juniors to high school to collegiate to the men's programs and so on.
Well, guys, I really appreciate y'all coming on and really talking about this year and the sport of rugby. Again, like I said, when I seen the Instagram and your Facebook page, and knowing that y'all have been around from the 70s, and knowing the Griffins have been around, and knowing I have a friend of mine who's played for the Griffins for a very long time, and using this platform to really bring more awareness to your team. And you have your scrimmage coming up on the 2nd against OU. And then, of course, you play Oklahoma State at home on the 8th. We really appreciate you coming on, and we really want to encourage everybody to come out and support the team and watch them play. And guys, we really want to wish you the best on this season, and keeping everybody healthy. And again, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thanks for having us on.
Yes.
Woo pig.
That will do it for this episode of the Hog Talk podcast. We will come to you live Sunday night as we bring you all the latest action from the week's sports. We will catch you on Sunday.